Paul will be delivering the third speech of his presentation Mastery Pathway. It's Introduction to Vocal Variety and Body Language, and Paul asked me to specifically pay attention to his vocal variety. The title of the speech is Hello, Paul. Paul, the stage is yours.
Sorry about that. Trigger memories. We all have the capability of experiencing these. They're those sensory inputs, be it from your sight, sound, nose, or mouth, or they could be thoughts which suddenly engage past experiences and memories and bring them to the forefront of your mind. These can be good. An aroma. It reminds us of that enjoyable meal with family and friends. Or we can be transported back to that romantic dance with someone that we were smitten to by just a couple of notes of music. But of course, they can also have a negative side. I'm sure many of us have taken a whiff of a certain alcoholic beverage, reminded that they will never, ever taste that alcohol again. Southern Comfort being mine. But also there's the extremes. People who suffer PTSD are quite often having to relive terrible events. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests, my name is Paul Stern, and I'd like to take a moment just to share a recent memory trigger that I experienced not too long ago, and it had nothing to do with Southern Comfort. For context, I'm a freelance hydrographic surveyor. I have an agent who finds work for me, but like the saying says, you're only as good as your last job, and that is so true. Hello, Paul. 2 words. Words that a few of you used today when I joined online. Now, whilst those 2 words make up a sentence, they're not the sum of the meaning. For example, hello, Paul is, well, nice and polite. Hello, Paul. Yeah, quite angry. Hello, Paul. Someone who's smitten with you. Hello, Paul. Oh no, not you again. Hello, Paul. Earth to planet Paul, come in. I recently finished a job. I had spent the day in the office, QCing data and reports, going over charts, people's handwritten notes. 12 hours, and I was ready to go back to the hotel. As I walked past the operation manager's office, a chap who I know really well and is very nice, he called out, hello, Paul. I suddenly stepped into a time machine and I was transported back years to Angola. On a drilling rig where we were working, we had to place a drill string, which is 150 mils in diameter, into a box on the seabed measuring 1 meter squared. It was in 3,000 meters of water, and at the time, that was at the forefront of technology. As things would have happen, everything was going wrong, or as they call it, sod's law. We had a client who was the absolute pure definition of the Peters principle, someone who had been promoted to their maximum level of incompetence. As we worked hard addressing what was wrong, he would pace up and down. Do you know how much this rig is costing every day? Yes, $750,000. I could position this with my handheld GPS, which only costs $100. Why are we paying for you? Hey, you're the client. Please, if you want to do that, do it. I'll just jot it in the logbook and yeah, I have no problem with that. To cut a long story short, after a few days, I had to go over his head and submit a formal complaint. I had a trainee with me, and the trainee was ill. He would jump at the smallest sounds. He wasn't eating. I had to look after him as well. See, I actually love jobs where things go wrong. I thrive in stressful environments, but I had to look after him. Well, the rep wasn't happy, and utilizing the old boys club, He stayed on board and we got kicked off. My trainee flew home and handed in his notice. 3 years of hard university and he had had enough. He didn't want any more. This was only his first or second job. His mental health meant more to him than the paycheck, which I can understand. Me, I had to endure days of grilling by management. What had gone wrong? But what irked me was, as we were leaving the rig, this rep turned around to me and said, "You better watch your back. You're in Angola, remember? You will never work in this industry again." Well, after I'd sorted out the management and we'd come to the agreement that we had done nothing wrong, I wanted another job, but there wasn't anything. Now, was that because his influence was so great that everything was drying up for me? Or was it was a quiet period? I honestly don't know. But at the time, my mind was thinking, oh, crumbs, what have I done? You see, years before this, I'd met this rep before. He was on a survey vessel and he was as arrogant as he was the day on the rig. He would insult people, drive people up the wall, put a lot of stress on where it wasn't required. And in particular for the women, he made their life hell. So I complained. I complained to the vessel's master, who has overall authority when it comes to health and safety. And the vessel master kicked him off. Well, that day when I landed on the rig, and I stepped off the helicopter, and I stepped into the office, who should I see? This rep. And he looked at me and went, "Hello, Paul." And it wasn't a smitten hello, Paul. Thank you very much. And back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.